Hello, boys and girls. I'm so excited you're here today. We're going to keep going with our reading lessons. This is going to be lesson 2 for this week, and we're really going to study on our vocabulary, okay? Good readers have to know their vocab or be able to decipher the words that they're reading, which means figure out the word based on root words, which we've been studying, looking at those prefixes and suffixes that we've looked at. So let's go over our vocab for this week, okay? The first word we're going to look at is citizenship. Let me make sure you can read it. Have you ever heard this word before? You know what citizenship is? They define citizenship as the position of being a citizen of a country with all the rights, duties, and privileges that come along with it. Okay? Now, when you hear that, what do you think of? What's something that a good citizen might do? Well, one way we could think of citizenship is if I plant a tree in our park, then I am showing good citizenship. I'm trying to make the park beautiful, and I'm offering something that will help our environment as well. So that would be a good way to show good citizenship. Can you think of some other ways? Okay, the next word is continued. Can you see that? Okay, now, when something is continued, it goes on, okay? So if you think about your education, it is continued from year to year. You don't get to stop at 3rd grade. You have to keep going. So there's one way you can think of the word continued. If you are reading a good book, and towards the end of the book, on the very last page, sometimes at the very bottom, they may have the phrase to be continued. What does that mean? That means that they plan on either writing a second book or it's part of a series where you have to keep going. I know, let's see, Gianna loves the Hunger Games. At the end of the first one, it's going to be continued into the second book, okay? Some of you really like the Dogman series. They continue a story on from page to page, okay? So continue just means it's going to go on, okay? Our next word is daring. Can you see that word? Okay. Now, when I see the word daring, I look at my root word. What root word can we find in daring? I have a suffix at the end of ing. So when I take that off, that means dare. You ever played truth or dare with your friends, maybe? Well, daring means you're being bold or courageous. It means you're brave. Okay, if you think about, remember the chapter book that we read together and got to watch the movie, The Mouse and the Motorcycle? We had Ralph the little mouse, and I would describe him as being daring. He was very brave. Even when he was going to face an obstacle that was a little scary, he was very courageous. Now, he wanted to ride on that little motorcycle, even though he knew that there were dangers. So we could describe Ralph as being a daring character in The Mouse and the Motorcycle. Okay, our next word we're going to look at is horrified. Horrified, can you see that? Okay, when I look at horrified, it means that you are filled with horror or great fear, okay? Now think of an instance when you would use the word horrified. Okay, when would I say I was horrified? Maybe when you were watching a movie and it made you jump really quickly. That would be an instance where you are horrified of something, okay? Lily Grace wanted to jump in the pool the other day, and she almost fell in leaning over the edge, and I was horrified because I was afraid she was going to fall in, okay? So I know you can think of some instances where you could use the word horrified. Okay, our next word, can you see it? Participate. Participate. That's kind of a hard one. Say it. Participate. Okay, now when you participate in something, you're joining in with others, okay? Maybe you're joining in with a group or a class. Sometimes I want you to participate in the classroom. What does that mean? It means I want you to join in and answer, help me to solve problems, things like that. When you play sports, I know a bunch of you like sports. Let's see, I've got quite a few who play sports. I've got Aiden and Brody who like basketball. I've got Remy who likes to do cheerleading. I've got a bunch of you who like to do gymnastics or who like to maybe do softball and t-ball. And I'm sorry if you didn't get to do your season this year. But when you join in an activity like that, you are participating, okay? So you are getting to participate in a sport. Some of you are better at, I know some of us aren't shy and we like to raise our hands really quickly or jump in and answer, and you like to participate. I know Landry will always jump in and answer a question if I ask her to, and I love that. I've always loved participation in the classroom. So just remember, participate is when you join in and answer a question, or not answer a question, when you join in and answer things, or join in and take part in a group activity, or you're being a member of something, okay? Participate. Our next word we're going to look at is proposed. Can you see that word? Whoop, now let me get it out of focus. It's hard to see sometimes. Proposed. Now, when you propose something, you are suggesting something to someone else. The actual definition they give us says to suggest something to others for their consideration. Okay? Now, that means you are, like maybe you have an idea and you want, let's say we had an idea for a garden at Whitesboro and you didn't know who to talk to. You would propose that idea to Miss Towns. And then she could propose an idea to the Board of Education if she had to. So it means you're going to consider something later. It's where you take an idea and you take it to someone who can see if they can put it into action and make it actually happen. Okay? So the word is proposed. And again, their definition is to suggest something to others for consideration. Okay, now this is a bigger word. This one is unfairness. Can you see it? Unfairness. This is the state of being unfair or unjust. Now I want us to look at this word a little bit closer. We have been talking about root words. Remember how I can find a root word? I have to take off two things. If I have prefixes, I have to take those off. Where's a prefix found? At the beginning of a word. Okay, so I see that I do have a prefix. So let's take off un, which means what? Not. Okay. Now let's look at my suffix, which is always found at the end of the word, ness. Let's take that off. What kind of a root word do we have left? Fair. We know what fair means. Fair means that you are being just, means that you're considering all sides. It means that you are doing the right thing. So if I am practicing unfairness, what does that mean? It means I'm not being fair. If I were to have a game, and let's say I had a basketball game, and I only let one person, let's randomly call it a name. Let's say I call on Cullen, and I only let Cullen shoot the ball. Is that practicing unfairness or fairness? That's unfairness, because it would only be fair if I let every person have a chance. Okay, that is unfairness is something that we don't like. We don't like this word. We never want to be using unfairness. But sadly, sometimes we see it a good bit. And we're going to be reading about it here in just a little bit, so you've got to know what it means, okay? So when we plug in that prefix and suffix back onto the word fair, I hope you can tell what this word means. Okay, it's not being fair or just. Okay, my next word we're going to look at is waver. Can you say that word? Waver. Now, to waver means that you pause when you're unsure about something, okay? Like let's say when you take a test. Sometimes you know the answer, but you're not 100%, and you kind of pause, and you kind of are afraid that maybe you're wrong. That would be you are wavering, okay? That's where you pause because you're not 100% sure, okay? Now, we know that normally when you go with your gut, you know the answers and if you're sure about it, but sometimes if you're unsure, you just kind of have that hesitation where you stop and kind of have to think a little bit more. And waver is one way we could describe that, okay? So now we can use that word. Now, what we're going to do today is normally in the classroom to practice these vocab words and actually see them in sentences and get a better understanding is we would read our story together, our small book story. So today what we're going to do is we're going to go through it together. I'm going to read it and you can follow along with me. And then at the end, you have an assignment using your vocab words in a paragraph, okay? So what you'll do is I've numbered the paragraphs with blanks. And you'll go in and you will choose the correct vocab word to fill in the paragraph, okay? So follow along with me as we read, okay? We're going to read the story Dolores Huerta, Growing Up Strong, okay? All right, let's start following right here, and I'm going to try to make sure you're focused in on all of the pages. Dolores Huerta learned to help people by watching her mother. Good citizenship. And what did that word mean? Means being a citizen of a country with all the rights, duties, and privileges that go along with it. So good citizenship was important to her. And she taught Dolores that women can be strong leaders. When Dolores grew up, she had the same beliefs. Good citizens. Dolores was born on April 10th, 1930. She lived in a small town in New Mexico until she was 3 years old. Then she moved to California with her mother and 2 brothers. Dolores grew up watching her mother participate or take part in community organizations. Her mother believed that all people deserved to be treated fairly. When Dolores was a young girl, her mother owned a hotel and a restaurant. Many farm workers who lived in their town were poor and hungry. They were paid very little for their hard work. Dolores' mother let them stay at her hotel and eat at her restaurant for free. This taught Dolores and her brothers that good citizens get involved in the community by helping their neighbors. Dolores Huerta helped farm workers who spent many hours working in fields. Dolores goes to school. Notice those headings we see. Dolores saw how hard life was for farm workers in California. She wanted everyone to be treated fairly. This attitude continued or kept going on as she attended college and studied to become a teacher. Many of the students that Dolores taught were the children of farm workers, so she kind of understood them. These students were often tired and hungry. They came to school barefoot because they had no shoes. Dolores knew she needed to help them. As a result, she went to her school's principal and proposed some good ideas. Remember, what does that word propose mean? Anybody remember? To suggest something for others for consideration. So she's taking this and suggesting it. Okay, let's pick back up where we were. She tried to get free lunches and milk for the children. She tried to get them new clothes and shoes. Trying to help the children was a daring thing for Dolores to do. Now, what does daring mean? It means very brave and courageous. The other teachers did not agree with her ideas. Dolores risked a lot, but her beliefs did not waver. It means she didn't pause about it and think she was very sure about her decision. She decided to do something about the unfairness that she saw. What is the unfairness that she is seeing? Do you know? She's seeing that some of these children don't have all the things they need, like food and shoes and things to help them to grow and better their education. She wanted to find a better way to help farm workers and their families. Dolores stands strong. Every day, Dolores saw people working in unusually unsafe and disagreeable conditions. She was horrified, which means it scared her really bad for them to be working this way. Many farm workers had little money to feed their families. Dolores decided to do something. In 1955, Dolores met Cesar Chavez. He wanted to make life better for farm workers too. Dolores and Cesar organized the workers into a group called the National Farm Workers Association. This group protected the rights of the farm workers. It helped make big farms treat them better. As a result, working conditions on the farms improved. Growing up with a mother who cared about other people taught Dolores to be a good citizen. Her kind and brave acts helped farm workers and their families. Who is a good citizen? Dolores Huerta is. And look up here at this little insert with the caption at the bottom. Dolores Huerta speaks out for farm workers at a rally in 1969. So there is a picture of her doing what she believed in and being brave and daring to help others. And then down at the bottom, I really wanted us to look at on this page. Let me get my book into focus for you. On this page, we can see a timeline, okay? Down here at the bottom, it says 1930, Dolores was born, and in 33, she moved to California. Notice how this timeline is a lot like the number lines we use in math, okay? I see my starting point and my end point over here, okay? It's going from 1930 to 2010. In 1953 to 1955, she worked as a teacher. So how many years did she work as a teacher? Just for 2 years. And then in 55, she met Cesar Chavez. By 1962, Dolores and Cesar started the National Farm Workers Association. In 1975, she helped to pass laws to protect farm workers, okay? And then way over here, in 1998, says she earned the Human Rights Award from President Clinton. So that's a wonderful honor that she got to see and do. Now, how did Dolores Huerta's actions make her a good citizen? What would define Dolores? Let's see her up here. What made her such a good citizen? Well, one way I might would answer that is it says that she saw a need in her community. It said that she saw the students were tired and hungry. See, right over here it says they were tired and hungry, came to school barefoot because they had no shoes, and Dolores knew she needed to help them. She didn't use this as a way to look away when she saw a problem, but she saw a need in her community, and she wanted to be a good citizen and show citizenship and help them. So, I want you to think this week about what maybe some things you could do to help improve others' lives in your community. Are there things you can do? Is there something that this makes you think of that you might could change or be a part of? Now, I'm going to show you the assignment that we're going to work on this week. Let me get it ready for you. I'm going to show you the assignment you're going to work on this week, and all you're going to have to do is use those vocab words that I showed you. You're going to plug those into the paragraph. These are from our workbook, so you know how to do these. You're just going to use every single word only one time, okay? And when you use it, just you can kind of make you a list if you need to. I'll send you a list, but you can make one at home and then mark it off so that you don't use the same word twice, okay? Use every word one time and fill it in, and then you'll number it, or I'll have it numbered for you, but you'll fill it out in your Google Classroom assignment, okay? So here's a picture of that. See right here, you're going to use all of these words right up here. Sorry, I've got a glare right there. So you're going to use all of these words to fill in this little story, okay? All of these. So I've numbered for this first blank. That will be number 1, and of course 2, 3, and so on. Okay, so you'll use all of our vocab words, which are already listed right up here. Okay, so I'll take a picture of this and send this to you so that you can see what your work is. Okay, if you want to pause it, you can go ahead and pause it and kind of make notes and fill it in if you want to, so that you can just hop on over and submit your assignment. I'm so glad we got to do our vocab together today. I miss you guys so much, and I love you, and I can't wait until we get to see each other again. I hope y'all have a wonderful week. Bye-bye.